We're almost up to 70 people, and we'll start having some fun where I'll talk about the strategies to locate the job in today's time. If you have a question on some of the slides as we go through it, any question when I'm on a slide, just shout it out. If it's something other question you have, why don't you put it in the chat and just preface it with the word question, and then Joyce will monitor that, and then we'll deal with those questions as we go through the presentation or at the end. Okay, everybody? Let's talk. These are the things that I wanted to discuss today. Number one, how to develop an action plan, how to execute your action plan, and then evaluating your results of your search action plan. And then we'll talk about managing your time. And then we'll just do a recap. So these are the main areas that we'll touch base on today in your strategies to find your next position. In developing your action plan, first thing I suggest you do is create your cash flow budget. You want to know where you're going to be. It helps relieve some of the stress that you would have due to the situation. You never know when you're going to land. It's the unknown. So you might as well try to understand where you will have your ups and downs from a cash flow standpoint, what your needs are, etc. So I would say you first want to do create a cash flow budget. And then what I'm going to say, the other thing you would consider doing is a self-assessment test. In doing that, a lot of people feel that being in transition is really a stressful situation. It's not good. There's a lot of negatives going on. Okay, who wants to be in transition, so to speak? But I'll tell you this, being in transition is not really that bad, because it really enables you at this point to take stock of yourself and do a self-assessment to say, hey, look, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been working in this industry, or I've been working in that industry. It might be the time to take a look at yourself and really make an assessment and say, all right, what do I really want to do? What are the types of areas that I really want to do, instead of just being on the treadmill? So doing a self-assessment really is helpful at this time. We'll talk about, you want to do some research online, obviously, in today's environment. In doing that, you want to take a look at the jobs that are being posted to see what the opportunities are out there, and also some target companies. You could research the target companies, but also you could see those companies that are advertising job positions, open positions on the net. Okay. You want to also, in your action plan, work on enhancing your online presence. Okay. Social media today is very important to get noticed, and we'll talk a bit about that. So you want to consider that when you develop your action plan. Obviously, you want to have your networking and how you will network and who you will network with. There's also recruiters. That's going to be part of your action plan. I suggest direct mail letters also. Some people might say, gee, no one does it. Well, that's exactly the point. If you do it, you're going to be unique. So think about that. You want to develop certain basic documents in your plan, or review the ones that you currently have. But what's really important as you go through this is to create a daily routine. Now, bear in mind that everyone on this call has a job. Even if you're in transition, you have a job. And your job today is to find your next opportunity. So in doing it, it's like any other position that you have. You have your to-do notes, your to-do list. You want to set up your time, when you're going to start work, when you want to end work. So you want to set up a routine. You want to also create measurements, different criteria to do measurements as to how successful your plan is. So you want to do that. And what I suggest you do is to create, I call it a 2-week plan. It's a rolling 2-week plan so that you really see what your success is, your goals for the next 2 weeks. And then as you go through the next 2 weeks, how are you succeeding? You know, your horizon right now is not months, so to speak. It should be very close to you, and it should be about a 2-week period. And then you want to evaluate your results every week when you develop your plan. Set aside time so that you're going to look and see, what did I accomplish this past week? Did I meet my goals? If not, why not? And let me readjust it for the next 2 weeks. Another thing you should have in your action plan, call it a work search buddy, or I call it my inner circle. And we'll discuss that a little more as we go through it. Okay. And you want to also have in your plan exercise on a regular basis. Exercise will help you relieve some of your stress. It will help you think clearer and release some of the anxiety you would have. So this is what you really should consider when you're developing a plan that you should have as you go in on this journey. In creating cash flow, it's rather simple. You want to look and see, what's your monthly income? Where's the money coming from? Maybe you have a severance package. Maybe you have a pension. You also might have unemployment, how long that's going to last, your savings. If you have some stock, what does that look like? But take an assessment of what your income is going to be. And then you want to take a look at what your outflows will be, any expenses that you have. Okay. And then what I say, put this down in a cash flow by week. And in your cash flow, you can put it out, I'm going to say on, a 13-week period, quarter, that's a good start. But lay it out by week. And then you can see your shortfalls or your surpluses by week. And it allows you then to say, hey, I have to cut back on this, or I have to, change this. I have to alter what I'm doing. I might have to pay some of the bills later, etc. So just think about that. It might also indicate to you, you might want to get a temporary position to hold you over. But you have to lay it out. You have to know what your cash is. Cash is always king, no matter what you do. In your self-assessment test, these are some of the things I think you should be looking at, okay? And what I would do is that I would I'd make it very simple. Take one of the yellow pads, draw a line down the middle, and put on one side things I like to do, and on the other side, things I do not like to do. And just started looking at it and say, all right, take your resume and look at your resume and look at all the places that you worked and think about it. What did I do that I really liked? Do I still like it? If the answer is yes, I like it and I still like it, put it on the side of the page, the side that says I like it. If you liked it before and you realize now you don't like it, well, that goes on the other side of the chart. And just, take a look at all this stuff. What size company do you want to work at? You want to work at a big company, a small company, a private company, a public company, a not-for-profit, okay? Do you want to work in an organization where, it's a rigid organization, or it's more creative, okay? Think about it. What kind of culture you want to work at, and put it on this list. And then when you do that, then take a look at your personal life, the things you do when you're not working, and do the same thing. Think about it. You know? Maybe before you really like to travel, and obviously now with COVID, it's kind of difficult, but let's say you still want to travel. Well, maybe you want to find a position where, you know, the part of your position is to travel. So these are some of the things you want to do. All right. So then what you do, you know, as you also go through this, one of the key things that you'll have to come to grips with is what's my salary requirements? You know, what's the benefits I want? Now, I put on the bottom here, what's your absolute minimum salary requirement? And what I'm saying, when I say minimum, I mean minimum. Because if you're going to say, I'm going to throw out a number. Let's say my minimum's 150. And that's my absolute minimum. I look at everything and say, I cannot work for a place. I need to bring in at least 150 grand. Well, if you're out of work and you've been out there, let's say 3, 4, 5 months, and all of a sudden the company comes to you and says, okay, we want you on board, but we could give you 140. And now if you accept it, well, 150 wasn't your minimum. It was really 140. So sometimes you have to be in a position to say, you know what? This is too low for me. I cannot do it. And even though I've been in transition, I'm going to have to say no. Obviously, you can negotiate your salary package, etc. But let's say after doing all that, it's below your minimum. My advice to you, say no and just continue on your search. Because if you get into a situation where the compensation isn't what you need or what you want, okay, you're not going to be successful there because it's going to gnaw at you. Researching the organizations online, what you want to find out is, what are the companies that I'm attracted to? What are the ones that I was thinking about for a while? Okay. Which ones are trending on social media or in the newspapers? Now, you could say, GameStop, you might not want to really do that. It's been trending, but, it's for the wrong reason to some extent. But look at some of the other companies that are out there, okay? It'll show you, some of the information. Maybe they've got new customers. Maybe they're increasing market size. But take a look at it, okay?
Hey, Marty, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just with respect to doing that research, do you recommend any publications or anything online where you can get that type of information?
Well, what you could do on some of these, if it's a public company, okay, you can go to the 10Ks and 10Qs.
Of course, yeah.
You can do that. If it's non-public, what you could do, you could always do Google searches. Okay, you get some information there. You want to talk to your research librarian. And generally, county library, they're very, very helpful. Even though most libraries today have restricted hours, a number of the research librarians are still hooked up where you can email them and they could get information to you. So, and I'll show some other places where you could get some information. Okay, Rich? Just
Thank
hang
you.
on, no problem. Okay. Right over here, Richard, this is called now Reference Solutions. It used to be called Reference USA. This is a database that's in the libraries. They're out of Tennessee, and almost all the libraries have it. It is the largest database in the United States of companies, both private and public companies. And what it shows in the companies, it'll indicate revenue, it'll indicate number of people, it'll have the executives, where it's located. It's the largest database, as I said. And what you can do, it's really made up of 3 different databases. The 3 databases that they have now under this reference solutions. One is company jobs. And what they do, they list the jobs that companies are offering today. It also has a database on the actual company, as I told you before, the revenue, the address, the executives. It gives you a lot of information. Also gives you SIC code. So you could search by SIC code, and also within a certain distance from a zip code. All right, and you can find out information on the company. And then at the same time, the third database is the executives or people. And so what you could do, you could then cross-reference from the database on the company into the database on the people, and then contact the executives that way. And Reference USA or Reference Solutions is a free database. In New Jersey here, if you have a library card in New Jersey, you could access that online. You do not even have to go to the library. Okay, so this is a real good database to take a look at. But there are other databases, and that's why I suggest you speak to the reference librarian. And here's some other places where you can find out a bit about different jobs. You know, LinkedIn jobs, Jespresso. Number of these give you, consulting type jobs, temporary jobs. It's a pretty good database, a different website to go to find different jobs. Okay, at the same time, here's some other. I did this Google search the other day, and this was the 15 top websites for jobs in 2021. This is current information. And this is where people are going to find jobs today. So what you might want to start doing is start looking at some of these. If you haven't already, you can put out your information so you get an alert. So you don't have to be out there searching all the time. You put out your criteria and they'll come back to you when there's different jobs that meet your criteria. So this is the top 15 websites so far this year. You want to select target companies in your strategies. The more target companies that you have, the shorter will be your job search, and you'll be more focused. It says, well, if I have more targets, why would I be more focused? Well, what happens as you start looking at the targets, you start and then seeing what each company is all about. And then what happens, it helps you eliminate and narrow your search. Target companies will help you focus. And what it also does, it helps other people who could help you. It helps them focus so that they can help you. Okay, you might want to tell them, listen, I'm looking for a position, let's say in Citibank. Do you know anybody in Citibank? That's on my target list. Well, the person would look at it, well, I really don't know anybody in Citi, but I know people in Chase, and that will help them help you. Okay. Once again, use the research librarians. That's what they are there for, and they are very, very helpful. You want to do research on the targets, not only the financial information about them, but also what's going on in the marketplace about them. Also about the culture. You can find out the culture if you go to, Glassdoor, but remember, keep your filters on, because generally people who write about companies there are really showing their anger towards a company. But you could get an idea if you start looking at it, and then you could talk to your network, fellow people in your network, to get information. Do they know anybody at these targets? Have they had experience in the targets? Have they heard things about these target companies? Okay. And what you also want to do in your search, you want to search for what I call POIs. These are people of influence. These are the movers and shakers. It could be the movers in an industry. It could be an individual within a company. But these are the people who sway other people's opinions, and they can be very helpful. And so you want to look for POIs. You could also write letters to the heads of the target companies. Okay. The main ways that you land today, these are the main ways, and they haven't really changed. You got networking, you have social media, you have recruiters, you have direct mail. All four. These 4 ways should be in your action plan. You have to use all of them. Now, based upon your personality and your network, you might be inclined to spend more time networking and more time, let's say, on social media than the other 2, or you might spend more time with recruiters and direct mail if you have a real good network. So it all depends on you. But these are the 4 main ways. The other ways you could find a position today, you could start your own company. You can buy a franchise. You can do consulting or contracting. Okay. If you want to buy a franchise, they have franchise brokers. I know a few. I'll be more than happy to direct you to some brokers. The franchise brokers do not charge you. Okay. They get paid by the franchisors. And, sometimes when we think about franchises, we only think about the food industry. Those are the franchises. Well, there's a lot of other franchises, especially for, services. Okay, you got B2B CFO is one of them. Okay, you have other types of accounting services. You have focal point, things of that nature. Now, another thing you want to do, you want to really, enhance your online presence just by having your profile out on LinkedIn doesn't really cut it today. Yes, you want to have a powerful LinkedIn profile. Okay. You want to, in using LinkedIn, you want to connect to, lots of people today. Your coworkers, even some of your classmates, you can find lots of people. And, what's happened is that we have a tendency to, look at people who we are currently working with. We see what they do. We forget about the people in our past. And we sometimes, have a snapshot of them and us when we first met them, that is what they are still doing. But look, if you've gone up the ladder, there's a good chance that your classmates, and, your former employees, former colleagues, they've also gone up the ladder. So reconnect with them, okay? Even, if you haven't spoken to them in 15, 20 years, just reconnect. You'd be surprised. They'd really like to hear from you, okay? In LinkedIn, you have up to 100 LinkedIn groups at LinkedIn. These are special groups that you can find. And once you are in a LinkedIn group, you have access to the members of that group. So you could really build your network, and you could be on one-on-one type situation with people you're trying to contact. In your profile, you want to use keywords so that you will be found. As I say, when Alex does his presentation, you'll see what I'm talking about. You want to join other online apps, so to speak. You got Twitter, Facebook, look at Meetup, Instagram. There's Virtual Networking International. This is a fee that you'd have to pay on this, but it's a huge network. You got Yelp, you got, Google Hangout. Okay. Join the online chats. Okay. And comment on the online posting. And what I mean by that, take for instance, LinkedIn. If you started watching the feed on LinkedIn, there's a lot of people who like the post. Somebody else posts something and they'll put like. And so what does that do? That puts a person's picture out there, a little circle with their picture. That's about it. But if you really want to get the exposure, all you have to do is comment on the post and say, I thought this was a very interesting article. Well, that was really, thought-provoking. And just write something like that. Well, in doing that, people get to see your name and get to see what you're thinking. And that increases your presence. And then people notice you. So think about doing that. Okay. You want to attend webinars. You want to follow the people of influence, and you could do that on LinkedIn. You might also want to blog. Okay, you could create a blog. You don't have to, publish it every week. You could do it once a month. But people get to, see what you are thinking, and you get your name out there. In networking, what you want to look at is ABP, everybody. I always talk about it. You need to be positive, and you really have to be prepared in today's environment because opportunities can happen at any time. Okay? And what I want to do is that we network to become liars. Okay, it sounds kind of funny, but when you look at it this way, we network because we want to get information, we want to get leads, we want to get advice from people, and we want to get referrals. And that's the reason why we network. And so it's networking, networking, networking. It's still 45 to 95% of the jobs that you get today are through networking. You want the hidden job market? It's networking, everybody. And there's lots of positions out there. You also want to create a powerful, I call it marketing pitch. Some people, know it as an elevator pitch. But let me tell you, one is not enough. You need at least 6 pitches. And in your pitches, you have to follow what I call the 4 C's and the 3 W's. And the 4 C's are this. It has to be clear, concise, consistent, and compelling. Okay. In it, you want to have your 3 W's. You want to say who you are, what you do, and what is your value to the listener. It's your value to the listener that's the important piece of this. And, a lot of people spend a lot of time doing elevated pitches, creating them. I have a presentation that we've already done and we'll be doing it again, where I can help you put together an elevated pitch in 3 minutes. And you might want to say, what could you do in 3 minutes? Well, generally people who have attended that session really come out and say, wow, I spent a couple of days on this. In 3 minutes, I've got a much better one. So just think about it. You want to follow the 4 C's and the 3 W's. You want to create a personal brand in your network. It could be a tagline. I'm known as the people helper and a matchmaker. Okay. You want to have your outgoing signature on all your correspondence. And you might want to have a tagline on your correspondence on what you're all about. Okay. Manufacturing specialist. Okay. Finance guru, whatever you want to call it. You also want to, your clothing and your message, you want to have all that so you could create a brand for yourself. Personal business cards, a marketing plan. Now the marketing plan is the bridge between your past and your future. It takes half of your resume, mainly your summary profile, and then what it adds to it is your target list. It's generally a 1-pager, it's a leave behind. You could show it to different people in lieu of your resume. So these are your target companies. Obviously, you have to have your resume, and it can be a 1-page, 2-page, multi-page. No rules here. No rules in networking. Okay. You want to have a powerful LinkedIn profile. You do, as I say, want to be active in social media. You could be on the job boards. You could go through meetups. You want to connect with the POIs. You want to connect with people at your target companies. Now, you could do that through your network, or if you get into the LinkedIn groups, you could do that, or actually through the FENG. In our database that we have for people, we have different companies where people have worked at or are working at. And why not do that? Take advantage of it. Contact people, okay? And you can join different networking groups. You want to have your references. Don't give them out until the end, but what you should do is keep people who you are using as references abreast on your search. Let them know where you are, what's going on. And in your references, okay, based upon the position that you're looking at, and should it come time where they're ready to give you an offer, but they want to give you, you have to give them a reference. Make sure that the reference that you give them, number one, knows that they will be calling him or her. 2, tell your reference what you would like the reference to say about you. So you give them information so that they could give you a good reference. And at the same time, you want to give a reference who really, fit in well with the position, or could talk the position that you've done before with the people who are looking to hire you. You also want to have your cover letters and your thank you letters available. These would be more templates, and you modify them based upon the situation. But these are some of the things you're going to need as your documents. Okay. Who should you network with? This is it's apple pie, everybody. It's family, friends, and friends of the, family, friends of your family, current and past business colleagues, business customers, and vendors, especially vendors. Okay, vendors are more than happy to help you, because once you land, they're going to come knocking at your door. But that's great. It's all right. You're in a position. Okay. You got your college classmates and your alumni, your neighbors, your in transition friends, and people you interact with on a regular basis. This could be, people at the dry cleaners, people in, when you used to go to the restaurants, you would know, people who cut your hair, people you see every day, people in your religious organizations. Let them know. Make a list of all the people you know And those are the people you should be contacting. Which group is good for you? You know, in New Jersey here, what we're lucky in that we have a lot of networking groups. They're generally smaller groups. Across the Great Divide in New York, there's not so many networking groups. They're generally large groups. Okay. Landingexpert.com. This is my friend Alex Freund. This is his website. If you go out to his website, what he's done for as a public service, he has one tab, I think it's called Networking Groups. Take a look at it, click on it, and he has names of groups in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Delaware. It goes down in Maryland, okay? And what it does, he has the name of the group, who's in charge, generally where they meet, when they meet, what the requirements are. And so that'll give you a heads up as to what different groups to look at. At the same time, if you don't see a group that you're interested in, do a Google search. You know, just like I did Google search on, you know, top websites this year to find a job, you could do it on groups. Forensic accounting networking groups in Pennsylvania. Things of that nature. Okay, and there's lots of different national groups too. You have the IMA, you have the FEI, obviously the FENG, you have the ACG, you have the APF. Okay, you have lots of them. You want to go into meetups. Meetups, you can find people with the same likes, and they're also different meetings that have. My friend Ken Lang, what he does, he runs every Tuesday afternoon at 1 o'clock. He has a lunch and learn on LinkedIn, and he generally gets about 80 people to a meeting. And they have really good topics. He has speakers from across the country. Just think about those. In networking groups, you need to join at least 4 of them. 4 networking groups. You want to have one group when members are employed in your industry, one with members in transition in your industry or your profession, at least one with members in transition in multiple industries at your level or higher, or at least one with members employed in multiple industries at all different levels. This covers all your bases, everybody. This is a minimum what you should have, you should be involved in. You could also create an inner circle of friends, and that's really what I found very helpful. It's generally, you know, between 4 and maybe 6 or 7 people who you could call upon at any time, give you advice. You know, you could use them as a sounding board if you have different thoughts that you want to, you know, float by people. They are also there for support. They also can help you network to other people. They could be very critical of you at times if you show them, you know, hey, look, I want to get your honest opinion. What do you think about the resume? What do you think about this letter that I might want to send to people? Gee, that could be pretty good. Maybe you should modify it this way. Well, that's the dumbest thing you could think about. Why are you doing it? Okay. But you want to have a circle of friends. And this is, these people here, these 6 people, different types of people here, should be a must in your network. These are accountants, lawyers, bankers, commercial insurance brokers, and commercial realtors, and technology leaders. These are the people who deal with people in the C-suite. These are the people who get to know what's going on in companies. These are the people that you should be networking with. They could open doors and they can refer people to you so you could land your position. In using recruiters, choose them wisely, everybody. There are good ones and there are bad ones. Just remember that. But what you should be doing, choose your recruiters based on your target companies or your industries, okay? If you're in manufacturing, don't choose a recruiter who deals in financial services and vice versa, okay? What you can do, you could go to the Directory of Executive Recruiters. It's about 5 years old already, it's from the Kennedy Publications. There was also, it's online today, and online I think it's more current, but it lists all the different recruiters throughout the US. And what they'll do, they'll give you also as to what their disciplines are or what they deal with in the types of companies they deal with. So if you're looking for the not-for-profit industry, okay, the directory will show you those recruiters that deal in not-for-profit, and those are the ones you want to contact, okay? But make sure when it comes to recruiters that you really evaluate them, okay? Recruiters have a bad rap, and some of it's deserving, other is not. But you want to make sure, when you speak with them, that they will properly represent you, they'll care about you, okay, and they'll be able to dialogue with you, and they have a good success rate. So consider that as you go through it and choose recruiters. In direct mail, you use direct mail to fund the POIs at the target companies, okay? You could gather information on your target companies. Okay, you write letters to the POIs at these companies. You might want to have a short introduction on who you are and your skill set. Mention something about the information you researched about the company. Explain your interest in the information you researched. Explain that, you possibly will be able to solve the company's issues, and try to set up a meeting, okay? Be it a live meeting if you can. You could set up a Zoom call, Zoom chat, just a telephone call. So you have an opportunity to explore further about the company and have the company get to know more about you. And a lot of people do not do direct mail. And so you'll be different. You will be unique. So think about that as you go through it. Okay, and what you might want to do in your letter, ask 3 questions, and having that at least one question will have to be answered no. And then in your letter, you could write, if any of the above questions are answered by no, maybe we should have a conversation, because I could help turn it into a yes. I suggest when you do direct mail, do not include your resume. Once you include your resume, it goes right to HR, and you do not want things going to HR. You want to avoid HR, okay? You'll have to talk to them later, but in the initial stages, you want to stay away from them. They exclude you, rule you out instead of rule you in. And creating matrices, as I said, to measure your success, I suggest you do it weekly or bi-weekly. You could do it. Some of the things you might want to set up as criteria that, how many networking calls do I need to make? And you plot it out next 2 weeks. In week 1, I want to make 10. In week 2, I want to make 15. How many people should you contact? New people. Okay. How many interviews am I trying to schedule? How many coffee meetings can I have? How many events should I attend? How many networking group meetings should I go to? How many webinars should I attend? Okay. Schedule these out. And then what you do, what I used to do on Sunday was my day of reckoning. And what I would do is that on Sunday, I would take a look and say, okay, what did I plot out for last week was going to be my goals for this week? All right. Now, what did I actually accomplish? If I fell short in different areas, well, the reason was why. Why not? Was I over optimistic, or I really didn't, concentrate on what I had to do? Maybe I had something pop up that required me to shift my priorities, but at least you use that to monitor your success. And then what you do, you adjust for the next week on what you want to do. And it's a continual rolling average. But when you do this, make sure in your metrics that you also want to have time to do follow-up work when you want to get back to people. And that's part of your connecting. So, keep that in mind. And you want to keep track of people who you have contacted and the result of the contact, and especially on the follow-up when you need to follow up with these people. Okay? This is all in the short term, but then you want to have your long term and say, okay, what's the outside date? When do I know I really need to have a position? So put all these things together. How do you evaluate your search? You set your goals. Did you meet them? Just look at them. If not, why not? Okay. What's my achievements? I'm going to set my new goals, as I said. And also what you want to do in your metrics, I would suggest you set up a time to meet with your inner circle, to talk to these people and get, feedback from them. You could go over your results with them in a meeting and say, okay, this is what I wanted to do, but this is what I did. And, tell them, see, maybe they have a suggestion to help you along. Okay. This situation you're in, this is a journey, and you have to really work at it. Okay. It doesn't just happen. You have to have a goal in mind. You have to know what I call the yellow brick road, how to get there. And then you have to monitor to get there, what you have to do. Okay. And then, in going and evaluating your progress, another part is, well, how do you really feel about it? Be honest with yourself. Am I making the progress that I want to? If not, why not? What am I not doing that I should be doing? Okay. And do I need to change my strategies? Do I have to change? What should I change to? I might need a coach. Okay. Look, professional athletes, they have coaches. Okay. Maybe you need one to help you over a hump. You might only need a coach for a couple, things, maybe just for interviewing. You're falling down on the interviewing process. So you might want to have somebody help you on doing interviews. Okay. Other things you need to consider: learn the various social media platforms today. Zoom, which is, quite easy. You got GoToMeeting. You have a number of other apps that you can learn how to work with them. You don't have to be an expert, but familiarize yourself with it, because today, most interviews you will have today will be remote and will be on these different platforms. So you want to get familiar with the platforms, okay, and minimize, your stress on trying to figure out how to work these things, and just concentrate on the interview. Exercise on a regular basis. Okay. I told you, you might want to have a search buddy or join a job club, or, have your inner circle. You want to, be able to talk with members of your family and your friends. Okay. Let them know what's going on. Don't keep them in the dark. It helps. They might have some suggestions for you too, especially your family. You're going through stress. And if you're not even, mentioning to them how you're progressing, they're going to have stress also. So have a discussion with them. Remember, you should have a life balance. You cannot do your search 24/7. You have to take some time away. Okay, do some exercise. If you want, on the weekend, take at least one day on the weekend, just say, this is my, debriefing day. I'm just going to take it easy for this day. Okay. And just remember, everybody, you all have jobs. Your jobs today is to find your next job. So you are all working. Keep that in mind. Okay. And remember, okay, you are still good at what you do. The reason you are in this situation could be many. The economy, layoffs, maybe somebody just didn't like you. Okay. Maybe the company just couldn't afford you any longer, but you're still good at what you do. So don't get down on yourself. Okay. Stay positive, everybody. Remember your ABPs. Always be positive and always be prepared. And also remember your ABC. To always be connecting to new people and connected to people who are currently in your network, and reach back to people you haven't spoken with for, several months or even several years. Okay, they'd like to hear from you and they could possibly help you. And just remember, these are the two most important words to have with you. It depends, because you and your search are unique, and your actions are really dependent upon the circumstances that are in front of you. There's no one way to do it. You have to be flexible and you have to adjust on a regular basis. So your actions really are dependent upon the circumstances. So keep that in mind as you go through this. Because everyone, you will land. You will land as long as you work at landing. Okay, don't give up. You'll make it. It might take time. Okay, you don't know how long it's going to take, but just remember this. It only takes one yes. You will get a lot of no's before you get that yes, but it only takes one yes. So keep that in mind. Just to recap, you want to develop an action plan. You want to look at your cash flow. And you want to learn about yourself. You want to do some self-assessment. Research your target companies. Remember the 4 ways to find the job, and you have to use all of them. Create the metrics and evaluate them on a weekly basis. Continue to work at it, and if need be, revise it as you need it. It's a long journey being in transition. Some parts you could control, and on those, do the best you can. For those pieces that you cannot control, let it go. Don't try to control something you cannot control. Let it be. But look, what you will do on this journey, I believe you will come out of it a much stronger person. You will learn from this experience. You'll be able to experiment in different things you do. And hopefully as you go through it, okay, you really will enjoy it. And it will open up your eyes, increase your experiences. You'll get to meet a lot more new people who could really be good and really help you going through things. So enjoy it, everybody. If you need me, this is my contact information. Real simple. I'm available for anyone here. Just give me a call. We'll set up an appointment. We could always have a Zoom chat. Okay. And with that.
Hi, Marty.
Okay.
Marty, we have a lot of questions.
Oh boy. Okay.
I'm going to have some of them. I'm going to have call on them one by one.
Okay.
Kevin Lamb, do you want to? I'm not sure of your question, so can you explain it?
I'll try. I know there was 3 questions you said, and then one was a no.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
can
you want to put together, 3 questions after you do your research of the company. And you might want to ask some questions like, do you feel that your profit margins are where they should be? Do you feel that you have adequate cash flow? Okay. Do you feel that your technology that you have right now is state of the art? So you're trying to get a no out of one of those. Okay? Got it? Okay.
Okay, how about Jim Martirano? I'm sorry, I'm not pronouncing his name. Question?
Martirano. Jim?
Yeah, yes.
Guys.
Marty, for the direct marketing component, the direct mail component of the search, is that to be done via an email to the person or an actual direct mail letter to the through the mail, or a combination of both?
I do both, and I tell you why. What happens is that, and you could change it, one of them slightly. What happens is that when you do it through email, that's your first touch point. Okay. There's also on your computer, the recipient, when they get it, they have this thing called a delete button. Okay. And they can look at it and then delete it. But then you follow up with the hard copy. And in doing that, that's number 1, it's your second touch point. They get to see you again. And number 2, they have something tangible in their hands, okay, that generally will hang around on their desk for a while. And so that's why I say do them both. Okay?
So email first, and then direct mail is the follow-up then?
That's right.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, thanks, Marty.
No problem.
Okay, Susan Lum? She may have left.
Susan?
Maybe she left.
She might have left.
Okay, Hal Lerner?
I don't talk to Hal Lerner. Hal?
I did not have a question, so sorry.
Hal used to work with me. That's why I could say that about Hal.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry, Hal, you don't have a question. How about John Gorman?
Yeah, thanks, Joyce. Marty answered my question. He gave me 2 examples of questions, so he gave me double what I was looking for.
Okay, great.
And how about you, Gus? Are you okay, Gus?
Yeah, well, the question I have is, Marty is saying that we need to have at least 6 elevator pitches.
Yep.
Meanwhile, for branding, we need to have a consistent message.
Yep.
Now, the question is, how do you reconcile these two?
Okay.
At least 6 pitches and consistency.
Let me put it this way. In your 6 pitches, you generally have 2 sets of 3s. Okay. You have a 15-second, a 30-second, and then I'm going to say the 60 to 90-second. Okay. So each set has 3 of them. And what you do, 1 set is delivered to those people who are in your same profession. They speak the same language you speak, so to speak. You use the same terms. It's what people would understand. Like for finance people, when we started talking about 10Ks, 10Qs, we generally know what it is. It's the SEC reporting reports. You say that to someone who is not in your industry, and they'll look at you like the deer in the headlights. I have no idea what you're talking about. The other set of 3s, which has a 15-second, 30-second, and a 60 to 90-second, is given to those people who are not in your profession, okay, who may not know what you actually do. And so in those pitches, you make it more generalized terms so they will understand what you do. It's not that you are changing the context of what you're doing. You're just modifying how you're delivering it. Okay? Got it. Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, any other questions? I have a question. Okay, how many people here have snow shovels? Okay, well, by tomorrow, okay, I suggest you do one of two things. If you have kids, give them their snow shovel and tell them to get out there, okay? You either do that or you pick up the phone and call somebody to come out and use it for you, because it's still coming down like crazy where I am, I'll tell you that. So, yeah, John, go ahead.
Can I make a suggestion? I'm in Chicagoland. We just got hammered with about 9 or 10 inches. My advice is get a machine.
I have mine ready to go, okay?
Awesome.
Okay.
You're
But
gonna need it.
I had 9 inches by noontime today, and it was still coming
Wow.
down.
Wow.
Okay.
Marty, where are you? Are you in New
I'm in
Jersey?
northern New Jersey.
Oh.
Okay, no problem. Okay, everybody, look, hopefully you've learned something from today's session. Before you sign off, this is what I need you to do. Go to the chat button. Click on the chat button. Okay, it'll come up with a big screen that'll say chat. At the bottom, they have the last address 2. Some will say everybody, or if you've been, writing to other people, have somebody's name. It then has a picture of a document, and then it has the word file, and then it has 3 dots. Put your cursor over the 3 dots. You'll see the word more. Click on it. Another drop-down box will come up and it'll say save chat. Save it. We're back into the main chat menu, and you'll see in the green bar, it'll say chat saved. And over on the right, it'll say show in folder. Click on the show in folder, and it will show you where on your computer you saved your chat. The chat is in text format. You still could read it, but you can, if you want, you can put it into Word and convert it into a Word document. And then we'll have everything that was in the chat that you had, okay? What I will do is that, as I said, tomorrow, I will send out the slides. And at the same time, what I'll do is that I'll send out my list of those people who were here, who attended the session. I'll have, some of your contact information in the chat. It'll tell people what you want to do, how people could help you and how you could help other people. And also what we'll do is that there'll be a recording of today's session, and that will go out onto the YouTube for the FANG group. Everybody, the Bergen FANG meeting with Alec Freund, how do you get found on LinkedIn, will be Thursday night. You're all welcome to attend. Just go out to the FANG website, and under the Bergen chapter, sign up for the meeting. If I don't see you on Thursday, hopefully I'll see you on next Monday, when I think, as I said, we'll talk about creating a powerful resume. Okay. In the meantime, if anybody needs me or wants me to help them, I'm available. You got my contact information, everybody. I wish you all well. Have a great week. Watch yourself that you don't overdo it when it comes to snow removal. I caution everybody on that. For those people who live in the South and have no snow, we are kind of jealous, but these are things that happen. And stay safe, everybody. Stay healthy. Okay. If you can get your vaccine, it would be incumbent upon you to do it. Okay. All right. Be well, And until then, as Roy Rogers used to say, one of my idols, happy trails to you
Thank you, Marty.
until we meet again. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Marty.